We're live. We are live right now.
We are live.
Okay, let's play the music.
Let's go.
Why is the music not playing?
Oh.
Hang on. Let's do this. Let's do this. We've got a lot going on right now. Bear with us, everyone. As I'm setting up the music. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. And we are live. We're live. We didn't have to wait for a weird tweet to be sent out. We didn't have to, there wasn't this delay, and we're live. We're here. We're doing this, Sean. So, we're kind of, bear with us all here. Welcome to the Hockey Podcast. I am, of course, Kevin Olenek. You can follow us on Twitter at podcast_hockey. Subscribe on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube, as we are now live on Facebook, on YouTube, and do that. And then, of course, you can subscribe on Apple, Google, Spotify, because we will post that there. And starting this week, now that my term is over, I'm just checking. Hang on here. Yes, there we go. We've got a tweet out. Okay, so people will be able to join us. Bear with me as I'm talking, as I'm doing this. Sean, hello.
Hello.
This was the best intro that I have ever done for the Hockey Podcast, hasn't it? Yes.
Oh, you struggled through it, but you got through it there, Kev.
Yes.
It's as everyone can see, we've got a new look now, and I think Kevin's just a little excited.
Yeah. So let's take them a little bit behind the scenes. For those who don't know, what we've actually had to do to go live on Facebook and YouTube before. We were using Zoom. God loves Zoom. It's a great feature. No error, no problem. But when I would connect to Zoom to YouTube, we had to wait for the actual link to be set up to go. So we would be live on Facebook for about 2 to 3 minutes, usually even longer than that. So sometimes if you were watching, there's this long delay. That's wise, because we had to wait for the actual link before that we wanted to start. Now the link actually, with StreamYard, the link actually goes. So we're kind of fairly instantaneous. So this looks a lot better. So there we go. This is the format that I think we'll be using from now on. And then the second part of this is, now that the term is over, my term is over, and the hockey season, it's around a corner. Whether we'll get into if it's just around the corner or not, but it is around a corner. We're going to be doing some more twice a week stuff. There's going to be a lot to talk about as we go on here. There's still a lot of unresolved issues. We'll get into that. But yeah, so we'll also have a banner on the bottom. You can see some of the things that we're talking about. We're looking like fancy and professional and stuff.
It's taken us a while, but we're starting to look the part, and hopefully we can start acting the parts a little bit better as well.
Yeah, well, don't expect. What are you expecting me to act professional or something?
It's not just you there. I'll I'll call myself out on that at times.
Okay. But if you do have any questions, comments, let us know. We have I have access. We have access to the chat. Tell your friends. It's a pretty cool new step. The big thing today, and these ones we're not going to take a heck of a long time on these, but we'll do these. And we'll try to be as succinct as possible. We'll have our regular power play on Saturday on the weekend. But I think where we wanted to start is the proposed divisions have been leaked out. And we knew and we know that we're going to have the Canadian division. That's been a foregone conclusion. So we know that it's Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton. But we also have the other proposed divisions. And I'm going to see if I can do this here okay. So I'm going to try to green screen. Okay. Let's see if I can do this. Okay. All right. I don't know if you can see that, but basically these are the new divisions from Pierre LeBrun, not finalized yet and still subject to change, but the 2021 4-division realignment currently looks like this, according to sources. Boston, Buffalo, New Jersey, Islanders, Rangers, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Washington, Carolina, Columbus, Detroit, Chicago, Florida, Minnesota, Nashville, Tampa Bay, and then Anaheim, Arizona, Colorado, Dallas, LA, San Jose, St. Louis, and Vegas. I just want to say quickly, I am very happy that they, for the Philadelphia Flyers, who were without a division as of this morning, and I'm glad that they found a way to fit them as one of the 31 teams in the National Hockey League. I thought that was nice of them.
ESPN, yeah. You found a way. some sort of technical difficulty there. Oh, Gritty was not happy.
No. He was not. He was very angry, Gritty. I basically think these are okay-ish. One of the original proposals had Minnesota heading all west, and I was like, "What did just because Isha brought reports for the Minnesota Wild does not mean you need to give them the Vancouver Canucks road trip. Like that's not right." But I think overall, for the most part, they make sense. If I had a quibble, I would move Buffalo and Detroit in the same division. That would be one of my big ones. Buffalo is actually closer to Detroit than it is to New York. That would be one of my quibbles.
Yeah. These divisions weren't going to be perfect. We can argue about the normal divisions till we're blue in the face on certain aspects, especially when Seattle comes in and we'll see Arizona get moved over into the Central Division. But when you're throwing a curveball with COVID and you have to and the Canadian-U.S. border not being fully open and there's quarantine times and all that, you had to do something. And once you went to an all-Canadian division, you were going to throw your the other three divisions into a huge blend. Well, not a huge blender. Like the couple of divisions went into a huge blender. The Metropolitan got to basically stay the same. But yeah, I don't know. It's to me it looks as good as it could be. I believe Minnesota was originally supposed to be in the West Division, but they did not want to travel west all the way out there. And St. Louis was willing to. I believe it was that they actually don't with. For some reason, the watching habits of Blues fans don't mind the later games. So it worked out for both teams that they were able to swap that, and as well as I said, I think it makes pretty much the majority of sense. It's not going to be perfect, but if we get hockey this season, then we should just take it. It's going to come up. We're going to see some interesting matchups, especially up in the Canadian division. but it's still going to be fun. It's going to be something we've missed sorely for the past 2 months.
Yeah, as we talked about Saturday, there's teams that could be playing almost without a game for almost 11 months. So I mean, it's great to get this kind of get the people talking. I think that's exciting, and I'm telling you, I am looking forward to. There is going to be a new budding rivalry that will come out of this, which will be Colorado and Las Vegas, because those games are going to be fun to watch. A couple of high energy, high popular teams. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch going forward. And yeah, I mean, you're creating some new rivalries. You also have kind of some of that old Norris division with Chicago, Minnesota, St. Louis, and Detroit back together again. So you got some old school rivalries there. And you've got Chicago and Tampa that played did they play in a cup final?
No.
Who did? Oh, sorry. For some reason, I was thinking of something else. But we have some cup winners in there. You got Tampa and Florida, and you've got that New York rivalry and Boston and Pittsburgh and Washington still together. So you're going to get some Crosby, Ovechkin for the old school. And I'm excited. I think it'll be really interesting. What's going to be interesting is how the playoffs are set up. And we were kind of talking about this. Sean and I will disagree. I think that there's room for a play-in round. I don't think that it will happen, but I think that that would be an interesting idea that some fans would be interested in. I don't know. You're not for it.
It's just something I don't think is realistic. They've got the plan for the 56 game season, and they're going to be struggling to get it all in because there is a specific end date that they have to have the season and the playoffs done by, with the what was the 2020 Olympics now being now happening in the 2021 summer, going to be the bookends there, especially because NBC is the carrier of the Olympics in the United States. And they're also the carrier of the NHL. So the NBC is going to make sure that it's done, and there's not any significant crossover between the NHL and the Olympics. So adding another round or half a round or whatever the plan would be, I just don't think is feasible at this point. And I don't think the players are going to want to jam pack more games into what will already be a pretty a decently jam-packed schedule, from especially if they don't get the start of January 13th off as what is the current goal. If they don't get that start date, then it's going to be really tight. So I just don't see it being a feasible option for this season, and I don't see it being a feasible option going forward either, because I think it's just too much of a sticking point for extra games for the players, and not wanting to overwork themselves.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I have a convoluted idea that maybe I'll share on Saturday. I think the one thing that may possibly bring this together, may switch it, is how the NBA ratings do this year, because they are doing the play-in, and I think if they do well, I think the NHL might have something to consider, and that you have a new TV deal coming up, and that might be something that they may have to look at. But I think that this year, I guess the best bet would probably be you go 1 through 16, and maybe you have your top 4 seeds being the 4 division winners, and then you do your 2-3s, and then you have 4 wild cards. That's a possibility, but I think that we're going to have. I don't think it's going to be conferenced per se.
It all comes down to the schedule and how balanced it is. If everyone's playing intra-divisional within a division, then 1 through 16 doesn't work for me, and I don't think it would work for a lot of teams. Especially in the Canadian division. Like, I think the Canadian division is a coin flip or a pick'em division. Outside of Ottawa, I think you can make an argument that any one of those other 6 teams can take the division. And even if it is a bit of a surprise, I think there's an argument for all of them, and there's an argument for all of them that of why they won't do well, and it's going to be an absolute war. So let's say that the Canadian division is a war, and every team comes out around 500. Like, and then you've got a couple other divisions where 2-3 teams are running wild on the other teams, and have absolute, like, it just doesn't make sense to me to go 1 through 16 if it's a within division, intra-division, divisional schedule. And if that's the case, then I think the NHL should do divisional playoffs and have it pure divisional, not conference, divisional. You have your top 4 teams in each division make the playoffs. You play within your division, and you play to get out of your division, and then your final 4, your final 4 would be will be your division winners of the playoffs.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could see that. I do agree with you. It's going to depend on how the schedule looks, and when this season starts. I think this will play a lot into it. I am still not. I'm not necessarily a big believer that we're going to be having. We're going to be having the season start on January 13th. I think it will probably, maybe it won't be February 1st that late, but I think it's probably somewhere in between that. So, and I think that will have to play a little bit into it. I've been trying to find this picture of the Justin, I want to call him Justin Bourne. It's not Justin Bourne. Is it Justin Bourne? It's
Justin Bourne.
Oh, I always kind of like.
He's Bob Bourne's son.
Okay, I was thinking he might be Jason Bourne's of the Bourne's brother, and I always confuse him. And Anthony Stewart put out their top. Sportsman's been doing this, the top 5 Canadian list. Do you have access to it that you can put it up on a screen here?
Yeah, just do some professional time wasting, Kevin, and I'll pull it up.
Okay, so basically, yes. As Sean pulls that up here, I'll rag the puck here. But follow us again, podcast_hockey. We will be back. We're on Wednesdays now and Saturdays. We'll be doing a quick midweek catch up on the news of the week. And then we'll have Tyler, Chris, Heidi, Devin. They all come back. We'll be back on Saturday. Follow us. Tell your friends about us. We're the most underrated podcast in hockey. That's our tagline. The most underrated podcast in hockey. We also have a little bit of a banner and stuff as well. So, yeah. So we have this new look. So thanks for joining us. But basically they've been the list. They've been the top 5 goaltenders. The top 5 centers were on Saturday, which included, basically it was McDavid, Pettersson, Draisaitl, and Matthews were the top 4. And there's our list. So this is Anthony Stewart and Justin Bourne, top 5 defensemen on Canadian teams. Anthony Stewart has Quinn Hughes, Shea Weber, Thomas Chabot, Morgan Riley, and Nate Schmidt. New Vancouver Canuck, top 5 Canadian defensemen. Bourne has Quinn Hughes, Morgan Riley, Mark Giordano, Shea Weber, Thomas Chabot. We'll start with you, Sean. Which list do you feel more relatable to, first of all?
I like Anthony Stewart's list more than Justin Bourne. And that's actually backwards to, I think, the other lists that they've done. For me, I think the top 2 defensemen playing for Canadian teams, I feel like we have to make sure that we get that phrasing right. It's not Canadian defensemen. It's top defensemen playing on Canadian teams.
On Canadian teams.
Are Quinn Hughes and Thomas Chabot. I think those 2 are the 2 biggest game changers. The 2 biggest, they make the biggest impact on the game when they're out on the ice. and it's not even close. I think I'm seeing Chabot at 3 and at 5, and I think that's criminally underrating Thomas Chabot. But after that, I think it's Shea Weber. I think he number 3. Like he is old, he's a grizzled vet, but he's still a big physical menacing presence on the blue line that can just fill you in with his body checks and his shot. And he's a smart player to boot, as well as a really good captain. Don't underestimate that part. Then after that, I think you have to go with Morgan Riley. He's a better offensive defenseman than both Chabot and Weber, but defensively, I still think he's got a little bit of ways to go. He has improved significantly on that. I think he moves up past Weber in the next year or so as he continues his development. And then after that, I think it's a toss-up. I think you can throw any one of the following and not be wrong, and that includes Nate Schmidt, Josh Morrissey, Mark Giordano, Jeff Petrie. Do not sleep on Jeff Petrie. Very underrated. If you look at these lists, I think he deserves to be right up there with the rest of those players I listed for number 5. So I think they both got the 4 right. But in my mind, the wrong order. But I think Schmidt definitely deserves to be in that conversation, along with, like I said, Giordano, Morrissey. Darnell Nurse, I think, deserves a little bit of a credit as well, and Jeff Petrie.
Yeah, for my money, it's Hughes and Chabot are 1, 2. I would put Hughes a little bit ahead of Chabot, but I think for us it's probably easier. There's some maybe some bias there a little bit because we see Quinn Hughes every game, but Thomas Chabot is a minute king, no question about it. I would put Morgan. I personally would have Morgan Riley at 3. I just like his skating. I know Shea Weber has a bomb of a shot. I know he's a physical presence. I know that the man is an absolute warrior. I will not disagree with that. But I just think Morgan Riley does some things a little bit better. And yes, still some things to work on. But and then 5, I'm glad you said Josh Morrissey. I think I think he's criminally underrated overall. I think he's probably one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. Jeff Petrie absolutely is another guy that I think is there too, and Nate Schmidt is definitely there, and Giordano. But I think the one I think error, and with all due respect to him, was Giordano. I think he did take a step back. I don't see him really right now. If I was to put him on a list of all of them, he would be in the bottom 2. I would say I would put Petrie ahead of him, and I probably would put Morrissey ahead of him in my mind. And that's no disrespect at all, but it's just I'm basing it on last year.
Yeah, unfortunately, age has finally caught up to Giordano, I think, a little bit, and as ageless as he's seemed and has played up until this point, I think age is the undefeated champion of the world. It gets everyone. No, if you can get there, age gets you. Like it's just the reality that we live in, and if they went through this and did this before last season, he'd be right up there just based off of his Norris Trophy winning season. But he took a big step back, and I think it wasn't necessarily I think he completely had an absolute career season. Deserves all the credit in the world for what he did in 2018, 2019. And but like I said, it's just he took a natural progression back. I think that's a better way of putting it. And just there's also younger defensemen taking steps, and other defensemen who have I don't think people realize how good Nate Schmidt is. There's I think going after Pietrangelo and trading Nate Schmidt might be a very might be something that we look back at with Vegas and see whether and wonder if that was the beginning of the end, because of the dismantling that may have to come from it.
Yeah, I that is a fair point, and I think Nate, like, please don't get me wrong, I do think Nate Schmidt is a very, very good defenseman, and I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that may be an error that Vegas regrets going forward for sure, but we'll see about that. So we'll be back Saturday. We're going to get in a little bit more where we're at with the World Juniors, because there's still lots to kind of decide for that. And we'll have more to talk about. Devin, Heidi, Chris, and Tyler will be with us. Anything else we want to bring up, or?
No, just stay safe out there, and make sure you follow all the restrictions and safety protocols that have been put forth. Let's all step forward and stop passing the blame to other people, and just focus in on doing our part. And the sooner we all do that, and the sooner we all start hunkering down and getting through this, the quicker we're going to get back to being able to watch hockey, the quicker we're going to be back to being able to watch hockey live in arenas, as well as being able to go out and enjoy nights out at the pub, restaurant, friend's house, and to watch whatever sport you want. But we all want to watch hockey. We're missing it so dearly.
Yeah. There we go. Follow us, KVOLE, Beardy Canuck 03, Schneids, SCHNEIDZ, TNOBLE, Tyler, Devin, Gordhow 09. He needs to tweet more. And
he tweeted out a really cute picture of Gord this past week.
Okay, but he needs to tweet more than a Gord this past week.
He does.
And then podcast _ hockey, Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify. Thanks, everyone. We will talk to you all real soon.